Hi there, everybody. Welcome to the show. Pleased that you can be along with us, and happy Friday to you. The Utica Police Department's got a new chief, had a new chief for 10 months now, almost 10 months, and we've got him with us tonight, Police Chief Al Powman. Welcome to the show, Chief.
Thank you, Joe.
Always a pleasure to see you. Chief, there's a lot of things that we want to talk about, and I know one of the big things you want to talk about is a new addition to Cornhill, a police station going up to Cornhill, or as Councilman Phillips likes to refer to it, a public safety building. We're going to be talking to the councilman. We'll also be talking to Steve Kambic and from the Municipal Housing Authority about that whole picture in Cornhill and how the police station will fit into it. But before we get to them later in the show, let's talk a little bit about the Utica Police Department, your first 10 months on the job. Biggest surprise to you?
No real big surprises, I don't think, Joe. A lot of things I'm very pleased about. Let me take that back. I think the biggest surprise for me has been the fact that our in-house computer system, RMS and whatnot, is as far as advanced as it is. It really is state of the art. And I was very pleased with that, very pleased to see that. Very competent people that are help running that for us.
Of course, we should tell people when you say there's not too many surprises that you've had a long time in law enforcement. How many years on the New York State Police?
28 years and 10 months.
And is my recollection correct? Youngest major in Troop D history?
I don't know about that.
Pretty young major. It was a pretty young major. And now over to the Utica Police Department, talking about computers and things like that. One of the things that people can see on the street all the time now is the new vehicles, new SUVs. Why SUVs?
Well, the SUVs were an idea of Mayor Julian, quite honestly, and were in place before I got there. We have 4 or 5 of them on the road now, and we're still kind of feeling them out to see what the best use is going to be for the department. Whether it be patrol, whether it be with our K-9 units, whether it be for supervisory vehicles. We really haven't had a determination on exactly what we're going to do, but they are working well.
What about the new color scheme? You've gone from that dark blue color to the white, not only on the SUVs, but on some of your patrol cars. How come?
Again, that was something that was put in place prior to me getting there, but I would favor that. If nothing else, white seems to be a little bit easier to keep clean, and over time, all our vehicles will become white. The blue will be phased out as those vehicles are retired from service.
How much use can you get out? Those cars are going, just about all of them, 24/7, aren't they?
Just about. A lot of those cars are, and they don't last long, 2 or 3 years, and they're pretty well worn out.
And when you get rid of one of those cars, they've got quite a few miles on them, Chief?
Yeah, they do, but once we take them off active patrol, a lot of times if they have some miles left, we give them to our CID unit where they're not used as much. They're not used for the rigors of daily patrol. And quite honestly, when we get rid of some of them, if they still have some miles on them, we've been trying to head them up to City Hall that they can be used by other departments.
Some police departments have onboard computers in their cars.
All our patrol vehicles have onboard computers.
And what can the officer do with that onboard computer?
Well, it allows him to receive complaints. It allows him to check warrants. It allows him to do vehicle and traffic checks. A wide array of different issues that heretofore have been done by a desk person at communications.
So somebody listening to as I used to do down at the Observer-Dispatch for a lot of years when it was my turn to cover cops, as they would say. We listened to that police radio and you'd hear somebody get pulled over, they'd have to call the station, they'd have to run it through, and that person down there, that's all done by the one person now.
Well, quite a bit, I mean, some of it is still done, but as we're phased that in, more and more will be done, and there'll be less and less air traffic.
Can the officers talk back and forth through email?
In-house, they can. Yes, everyone is on an email. Also, between vehicles, they can speak to one another.
On the computer?
On the computer, on board.
Is the thrust of that to take as much off of the public airways as possible?
No, not really. That wasn't the intent. The intent is to make police work more efficient. And obviously, when you don't have to tie people up on the radio, that frees up man hours, and it makes for a more efficient utilization of your personnel.
Talking about efficiency, when you came in, you did some reorganization.
Yes, we did.
Let's talk about that. How's the Utica Police Department organized now?
Well, we did away with watch commanders, which was a captain rank that there was a captain on duty 24/7. What we did is we reorganized. We added a deputy chief. We now have 4 captains who are in charge of specific duties. There's avenues of accountability now. Everyone knows who's accountable to who. Everyone knows who they answer to. We have a patrol captain, a captain CID, captain support, captain services. And then below them, obviously, the ranks spread out a little bit more. But when I first got there was always a question as to who was answerable to who. Mm-hmm. Now it's very, very clear. Everybody knows what they're responsible for, what they're accountable for.
In terms of answering to the public, when it comes time for the news media to call and ask questions, who answers the questions down there? Does it have to go through one person?
I guess that was always kind of a bone of contention down there. But the orders are to the men now that almost anyone can speak to the press, be it the local radio stations, the local TV stations, or the paper. We encourage a cooperative relationship amongst all the media. So to have one single source is not fair. It's not fair to the guys. It's not fair to the people from the members of the media. Because if you have to wait around, as you well know, Joe, from your years in the business, if you have to wait, you want to get something in Friday night and you have to wait till Monday morning to get it, you're not hitting too many deadlines.
Yeah, that happened to me a couple times.
I can imagine.
The Utica Police Department has also, over the years, brought more women into the department. How many women are in the department now?
We just had a retirement, but we just hired one, so we're 11. Mm-hmm. 11 females, and I'm a strong proponent of more minorities from every community. Mm-hmm. This is a very diverse community, as you know, and I actively promote hiring from the different cultural bases that we have in the community. So hopefully that's going to happen in the months or years to come.
Is the department hiring?
We're going to hire hopefully 7 or 8 new persons for a class that will start August 8th.
And they will go through how much training?
It lasts about 24 weeks of academy, and then another 12 weeks of riding with a field training officer. They're on probation for 52 weeks all told. It's quite rigorous.
How does that compare with the state police?
Comparably.
What is the minimum requirements for somebody to apply to get on the Utica Police Department?
Well, age 21, high school education. There's no requirement for college as of yet. You have to pass a civil service exam. Unlike my tenure with the state police, that was a separate exam in itself. So they have to pass the civil service exam. Once that passed, there's a physical, psychological, background investigation. Again, very rigorous, and we set our standards very high.
What would a starting officer come in at pay-wise?
I believe, and I can't give a specific on this, but it's around $27,000, $28,000, I believe. Mm-hmm.
And the budget for the Utica Police Department, pretty big.
Substantial. Public safety in the city of Utica accounts for better than half of the entire budget between the Utica
fire.
Police Department and fire.
Mm-hmm. And you're part of the public safety budget?
Probably 11, 12 million.
Mm. And growing?
If I'm talking to the taxpayers, obviously, no. We try to, I don't foresee a lot of real growth, and I may be optimistically saying that, but we realize that there has to be some financial constraints. So to say that we're going to have a big expansion of our police budget would be disingenuous of us.
The units that you have down there, you have, you mentioned some of them, CID, Criminal
Investigation
Division.
Right.
You got your K-9.
And we have, juvenile aid, we have burglary, obviously narcotics, our regular patrol, warrants, quite a diverse
Anything new that you'd like to start?
Well, we've started accreditation, and accreditation is something that when I was hired on was first and foremost. Accreditation is a set of standards, 130 of which agencies throughout the state have to meet in order to be accredited by the state. Out of 650 different agencies, currently there's probably only about 70 that are accredited. It usually takes about a 3-year process. As you know me, I wanted everything done yesterday. I'm looking for accreditation maybe a year from this August, which is ambitious.
We'll have you back. We'll find out how you're doing on that process.
We've met 43 of the 130 standards thus far. Okay. So we're moving forward, and we have one lieutenant who works solely towards accreditation.
Before we go to the break, and we're going to have Steve Kambic in to talk about the new initiative in Cornhill. But before we go to that, one of the things that has always amazed me is the way traffic is handled out in front of the Stanley Theater. I've got a reason for asking you this question, particularly when you bring those school buses in there, and that's a traffic nightmare, it would seem to me.
Our traffic section, which is quite small now, does an outstanding job. Joe, I was told that as short as 4 or 5 years ago, we handled 20 to 25 events of various nature throughout the community. We're probably up to 45 now. So these guys almost do it second nature, and even I'm amazed at how well they pull things off, parades and whatnot. We were in the Memorial Parade yesterday, and went off very smoothly. They do a very good job.
The St. Patrick's Day Parade, and I don't even want to bring up the Boilermaker with...
Boilermaker, 4th of July, we're going to have a huge parade.
The Stanley, speaking about the Stanley, that gives me an opportunity to talk about that. The Gatlin brothers are coming down to the Stanley, and that's going to be tonight, June 7th, 8 o'clock at the Stanley, and that's going to benefit the Men's Club of Moravian Church. So we want to give a little plug for those guys. And I'm sure you're going to have some PD down there directing traffic out in front of the Stanley.
I'm sure, if need be.
Okay, when we come back, let's talk about a big proposal for traffic, crime, everything else. We're talking about a public safety building in Cornhill. A lot of people never thought they'd see that day. We'll talk about it when we come back.
Great.
Al Palman's our guest, everybody, the Chief of Police. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
You're watching The Joe Kelly Show on WUTR Channel 20. Joe will be right back after these messages.
Joe Kelly Show on WUTR Channel 20 is brought to you by the Masonic Home.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Chief Al Palman, the Utica's new police chief, been on the job for almost 10 months now, is with us. And now we are joined by Steve Kambic, Executive Director, MHA, Municipal Housing Authority. Welcome.
Thanks for having me here.
Well, you're quite welcome. And the reason why we wanted to have you, Steve, is because we want to talk about this new proposal for a police station in Cornhill. Very exciting. Where did the idea come from?
Well, I've been wanting to be part of a process. We started last year, something called Hope 6. And it's a matter of rebuilding neighborhoods. And we're using public housing, the creation of new public housing, as the vehicle to allow us to build our neighborhoods. And one aspect that's needed in any type of neighborhood development is good public safety. And so it's just natural for me to talk to the chief, and I approached the chief and I said, we want to build a new community center, we want to work with the Cosmopolitan Center and others, and would you consider having maybe a community policing component or something like that? And he said, why should we just talk about that? How about a new police station? And I think the rest is, as they say, history.
And Chief, this is in its very formative stages as we speak right now. So give us the perspective on that. Where are we in this whole process? You want to put a police station, or as Bill Phillips says, a public safety building in Cornhill.
Well, the station that we're in now, clearly, Joe, was worn out probably 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a starting place. We have to do something. It's just to have an efficient police force, you have to have the facilities to support that, and we just don't have that down there. Steve came forth with this idea, and as you say, it's very formative. We're just trying to get started. We'll have to have a lot of input from a lot of people in the community. Councilman Phillips is a supporter, as most of the local politicians, both at the city level, county level, state and federal level, who I've spoke with, are seemingly behind this. So I'm hoping that rather than finding ways why it won't work, why we can all work together to find ways why it will work.
Where would you like to see the building, Steve?
Well, we have an idea that possibly right on South Street. You have an old commercial corridor. You have quite a bit of vacant land. So somewhere on South, maybe near Steuben, and work from there. The idea here is not just to have a public safety building. The idea here is to create that new identity and a commitment that this neighborhood, that all the neighborhoods of Utica are important. So we wish to build a campus. And on that campus will be the police station, community center, and relationships with the school system, with the Cornerstone building, and a variety of other agencies, programs, activities, and so forth.
How much money are we talking about?
Well, last year, the proposal without a police station, without a development with the school system, was about $51 million in total impact. So this year, it could be in the neighborhood of $70 or $80 million if we pool all the resources that we can possibly put into the package.
Where do you come up with those kinds of dollars?
Well, it's bond financing, tax-exempt credits, it is investor monies, it is federal grant monies. The Hope 6 is the lever that we wish to pull to make all this happen.
Explain Hope 6, what
All
Hope
right.
6 is.
Hope 6 is money that's only available from the Department of Housing and Urban Development for new public housing. Every housing authority in the country that has older housing that needs better housing for their residents wants to get Hope 6. Hope 6 means that you're building public housing. To build public housing today, you cannot simply create the housing units. You have to provide education, social opportunities, welfare to work, building private housing, home ownership. All those elements have to be part of it. And if they're not, the government will provide the funds for some other housing authority. So what we're doing is competing nationally for the best possible application. And the government provides you not only, you in this case, is the housing authority, not only monies for the public housing, but monies for all these other things as well. Not all the money that you need, but enough that it can lever other sources of financing.
Is it clear at this point that you could get the money?
Last year, we scored 80 out of a possible 100 points, and we were told for a first-time applicant that was outstanding. And again, that was without the police station as part of this, without efforts on our part this year to work with the school system. So I think we can do much, much greater than that.
So now when you go back and show them those elements, the score should shoot up.
We expect so, because not only will we show greater commitment to this project, but more leveraged dollars. If at the time of the application, and the rules haven't been published yet, Joe, and we're expecting maybe around August or so that the application will be due, if at the time that we submit the application, we can have a letter, let's say from the mayor or the school system, whatever, which would say, we endorse the Hope 6 and the neighborhood revitalization process with it. And if that gets funded, we will include our part. That becomes leveraged funds, and that makes the whole project not only larger, but more likely it will be funded.
Okay. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
When we come back, we're going to be talking to somebody who is very much involved with this whole process. That's Bill Phillips. He represents the people in that area of Cornhill. Stay with us. We'll be right back, everybody.
You're watching The Joe Kelly Show on WUTR Channel 20. Joe will be right back after these messages.
Joe Kelly Show on WUTR Channel 20 is brought to you by the Masonic Home.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the show. We're joined by Councilman Bill Phillips. Councilman, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You represent all of Cornhill or the greater portion of Cornhill?
The greater portion of Cornhill, the 5th District. Cornhill is a little bigger than the 5th District, but I'd say 90% of it.
As I talked to you during the break, I'd love to have you come back when we can talk just about Cornhill on a program, and you were gracious enough to say yes. We have Bill Hendricks come on too. We'll talk about Cornhill. In fact, we'll talk when you come back about what is the boundary of Cornhill. I got into a big debate once at the OD about that. Everybody got their own little idea of what the borders of Cornhill are. You heard the chief talk about and Steve talk about South Street as a location. Does that do it for you? Do you like that location?
Oh yeah, I love the idea. I love the idea. I think it's centrally located. I think you can get to all parts of the city from there as opposed to the site it's in now. I'm a correction officer, so that's what I do for a living. And so public safety is big on my list. And I think in my district, particularly, it's a welcome addition to have a public safety building. And I make that distinction between a public safety facility and a police department. I think a public safety is just what it is. It's encompasses a lot of things: safety for people, recreation. It's a big building, and I know I looked at some of the preliminary plans the chief has, and he's got a training facility right there, and everything is right there. You don't have to go out and spend money to train elsewhere.
What will that mean? What will that building mean? Call it a police station, call it a public safety building, call it what you want. What will that building mean for Cornhill?
Well, I think it would mean a comfort zone. I think having police, I look at police as friendly. I welcome police. I would think that South Utica would welcome police or any other part of the city. But in our particular district, we do have some unique problems. And I think starting not only the public safety building, but the whole super block concept is going to be a wonderful thing. When you bring in Cosmopolitan Center and you bring in the school district and you bring in some private enterprise, maybe a drugstore, a bank, I think it's exciting.
Drive the bad people out?
Well, that's what every community hopes to do, but I don't want to label it as, I don't want to paint one picture on the whole community as bad, but certainly people that don't want to follow laws and want to break laws and cause havoc on their neighbors, certainly we don't want them in our neighborhood. If they want to conform to the rules and regulations everybody else does, they're welcome to come.
Just how big is that building going to be, Chief?
That's debatable even as we speak, because we just had a very preliminary meeting a week ago yesterday. And we're probably talking in the area of, very general now, 30 to 40,000 square feet. Very general.
Do you think, Councilman, that you can rally the powers that be to get the support that you need to get this built in Cornhill?
Yes, I think so. I think any progressive community comes together when there's an important project. And I think we've lacked that in the past, but I think with the leadership we have now on all fronts, it can happen, because it must happen. Anytime you're talking $60 million, if everybody on board, your application is not going to look that favorably. So yeah, I think it's there. I think it's my job to rally the people around the idea, and I'm going to work hard to do that. What's
the reaction been in your district?
Well, I think it's more they don't believe it, because it's been talked about. So it's when I took 6, people were saying, yeah, that's just what it is, a hope. But I think it's real. I really do.
Will you come back and join us?
No question.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's going to do it this week. We'll be back next week and do it all again. Until then, take care of yourself, everybody.